Okay, so the Paperless Legacy is my side gig. I do have a day job. I telecommute to Silicon Valley, big company there. Um, but just not much to add to that introduction. I am local in Sarasota since 2021. And just to clarify, those patents are not related to my side gig. Those are associated for my day job. It's just, yeah, I do AI for my day job. And Paperless Legacy is my company. So the big thing that I like for people to avoid is this situation, where you're burdening, your heirs, or even while you're, trying to just organize your life, you want to declutter. And so I have this jargon phrase, bits instead of atoms. So atoms meaning the physical things in your house or whatever, convert those into data files that you can store on a computer. And so that's my actual storage unit. And then on the right is a network attached storage device. I'll get more into that, that Paperless Legacy sells. So, I'm going to tell you how to do this on your own, and that'll be the focus of the presentation. I'll also be mentioning the products and services that Paperless Legacy offers. And also be talking about going AI with all this. So I'm trying to convince people to take on a digital lifestyle. And what that means is being organized in your life, saving space in your house, and passing on something orderly to your heirs. Also, disaster prevention. So this is a backup device of all my data, and I can just pack it in my suitcase when I decide to evacuate. So you have all this digital data. Where can you store it? Well, you can store it on your computer, but you can lose your computer, right? Or it can get damaged, and it's not in a centralized location. You could store all your data on an external USB drive, and that's also called data attached storage or digitally attached storage. I don't remember which. But that is also not centralized. Only one computer at a time can use that. You could also think about storing your data in the cloud, but that's not private. And there are stories of these cloud providers losing your data. So if you do go cloud, you'll want to have more than one so you can have backups. So now that we're doing network attached storage, so just to clarify, the direct attached storage generally has a USB connector. And a network attached storage generally has an Ethernet cable, and that plugs directly into your internet router. So if you want a NAS, you can get one for only $130 on Amazon, and that's probably a good way to go for most people. Yeah, so on DAS, only one computer at a time. On NAS, all the computers in your house can access it at the same time. And the NAS that Paperless Legacy offers is quite a bit more because it does quite a bit more. It stores a lot more data. It has AI running on that computer. It doesn't ship it off to an AI provider. It keeps all your data in your house. And it has this touch screen on it for one-touch backups. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can put on our NAS, right? So we have papers, we can scan books and photos. Some of us may still have some photographic slides. I'm sure most of us have some sort of videotapes, and maybe even some movie films, 8mm from the 1960s. And there are videos, like on YouTube and Vimeo that you may want to keep and preserve. So in case they get taken down, you can watch them later. Email, you can preserve, because if you can save your email and your social media on your NAS, and then you apply AI to that, then your heirs can find out what you were doing, in the year 2002, and or whatever question they want to ask. Uh, Audio recordings, whether it be tape or records, CDs, both of the data type and the audio type, or software and floppy disks, or if you are currently using external USB drives, those can be centralized if you copy them to the NAS. Maybe you have an old hard drive that was taken out of an old computer that can be stored on the NAS as well. And then you can also do regular backups from your desktop or laptop onto the NAS. It's just a convenient way to do backups. Also, you can download all the data from your phone, text messages, contacts, photos. Sometimes you may want to download an entire website. So like there was a few years ago, Vatican.va website was getting a little flaky, so I just downloaded the whole thing. Or you may want to download an old blog that you or a friend or family member had. There's a lot of stuff on the Internet Archive, so I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Wayback Machine. There's another half to that archive.org, which is where all these books and magazines are archived, and you can download them and preserve them and read them. And so finally, if there's any physical item, like something of sentimental value, like a bouquet or a stuffed animal or something like that, you can just take a photo and save the photo, and then you're free to discard the item either now or later, but at least it's preserved. So I'm going to go quickly through each one of these. So in terms of scanning, if your papers are nice and crisp and stacked nicely, a sheet fed is by far the fastest way to scan. But if you have any damaged papers, if they were inundated with water, for example, or materials that you don't want damaged, especially like bound materials like a calendar or a diary, if you do want to still keep it around, you can use this overhead scanner. It has a 24 megapixel camera up in the head there. And you just turn the page, and it actually has a foot pedal. You turn the page, press the button, turn the page, press the button. Kind of the best of both worlds is if you have a flatbed with a sheet feeder. So you can feed your sheets on the top, or you can open up the lid and you have a flatbed where you can scan. And surprisingly, there's only one on the market right now, and that's the HP ScanJet Pro. It's been that way for about 20 years. So you might already have a multifunction printer that has scanning capability, but usually those are extremely bulky and usually not on your desk, or not in a convenient place on your desk. So I say, that's good for low volume. You're not going to want to do a lot of scanning with it. Same with a smartphone. Actually, I do use a smartphone scanner, but only in one specific instance, which is if I get a legal or a financial document that requires a wet ink signature, then I'll scan that one signature page with my smartphone, so I don't have to drag out my scanner. So Paperless Legacy can scan your documents for you. We charge by the hour because it just depends on the condition of the materials and the size and so forth. So slides, you can buy a slide scanner off of Amazon, or we could do it for you. Videotapes. So this requires some different pieces. So the first piece you need is something that converts. This is the format from the 90s, right? The video RCA composite jacks. Convert that to USB and capture it. And then, of course, you also need a VCR. And of course, they don't make VCRs anymore, so you have to find a used one on eBay or Amazon. or Paperless Legacy can do it for you for $20 a tape. So films, actual reel-to-reel movie films, there is a direct scanner available on Amazon, or we can do it for you. So these video websites like YouTube, Vimeo, and Rumble, there's a question of, can you just download these videos? Is that legal? And the answer is probably. And that's it harkens back to the 1984 Supreme Court decision on Betamax that said that you're allowed to time shift using your VCR. And so people have extended that logic to mean that you can also place shift and as well as time shift. And so that's why, if we think of YouTube as a broadcaster, then we're just shifting the time where we're watching that. So it's probably legal. The pay software you really only need if you're doing a really high volume, like if there's a instructional course that has 45 videos, you can do it with one click with the pay version. But there are 2 free versions, and it's so easy we don't even offer a service to do it for you. Downloading email. So there's software you can buy to download your email. I have to caution you, it's a little finicky. It usually only gets a percentage of your email, especially if your email goes back 20 years like mine. But at least you can get the most recent 2 or 3 years. And we can run that software for you if you want to. Social media. So there are some of the social media sites like Facebook and LinkedIn have a button where you can download your entire data. It has to do with all these privacy rules and so forth, and they just make it a one-click thing. But there are other social media websites that don't have that facility, and so there's software. It's free software, SN Scrape, to download all that for you, or we can run that for you. Audio. Right, so you need 3 pieces. You need the playback device, a record player, cassette tape, reel-to-reel, whatever the source is. You also need this stereo to USB converter. You may be wondering why you can't use the video one from before. It just doesn't work with the audio software. I don't know why. And then this free and open source software called Audacity will capture all that audio for you. If Paperless Legacy captures it for you, we could just, do the whole tape in one file name. Or if it's a commercial music tape with individual songs and you want those individual songs broken out into separate files, we can do that too. So optical discs. So in terms of movies, is it legal to oh, actually, I'm sorry, we're not up to movies. This is audio. So it is definitely legal to back up your audio CDs or cassettes or whatever, because it's not encrypted. So all you really need is a USB CD drive, and then the software CDEX has this database of every CD ever made, so you don't have to type in the song names. It automatically creates files for you, 1 file per song, and you can do various formats, MP3 or WAV or whatever. So if you have software stored on CD-ROM or DVD-ROM that you want to keep, of course you can just copy the files over straight. But if it's a bootable CD or DVD, like if it's an old bootable version of Windows, for example, you'll want to capture that in what's called ISO format. And there's free software to do that called WinCDE-MU. And by the way, I understand this presentation is being recorded, and I'm also going to be providing the slides for anybody who wants them. Okay, so now we get into movies. Is it Is it legal to back up a movie? So the difference here between DVD, Blu-ray, and with CDs is CDs are not encrypted, but DVDs and Blu-rays are encrypted. So copyright law allows us to make archival backups, but what is not legal is, quote, trafficking in decryption software. So it's probably legal for an individual to use, but if you give that software to somebody else, that is definitely illegal. And actually, most of that decrypting software is free. Yeah, I'm not providing links here because then I would be trafficking, but yeah, it works with both DVDs and Blu-rays, and that's not a service that we offer. Floppy disks and USB, there are various formats here, even zip drives. If you can remember zip drives, they're basically like really large capacity floppies. The most recent zip drive is the 250. Remember, the first ones were 100 megabytes, and then at the end of their life, they had 250 megabytes. Well, this last model has a USB connector, so you don't have to have an ancient 1990s computer to retrieve your zip files. And then, camera memory cards, there's a dozen different formats. This one $10 device will convert that to USB for you. And then floppy disks also have a cheap USB device. Okay, if you have a bare hard drive laying around, so this inexpensive device on Amazon has connectors for both 2.5 and 3.5 inch drives, and it can handle either SATA, which is a contemporary hard drive, or IDE, which is the type of hard drive from the 90s and early 2000s. So you would just connect your hard drive to this. There's a USB on here that's not shown, and just copy away. Now, backing up a computer, desktop, or laptop, if it's a computer that is still booting up, just copy it to a USB drive. Hopefully the computer's not so old that it doesn't have a USB port. Otherwise, if the computer does not boot up, you can take the hard drive out and go back to the previous solution, which is to connect it to that device to convert it to USB. Cell phone, there's software. There's one for Android, one for iPhone, and it captures everything, even your WhatsApp messages. For downloading an entire website, there's free software called HT-Track. And that's, so easy to do that, it's not a service we offer. So Internet Archive. So if you want to, for example, get every issue of National Geographic going back to 1900, or every issue of Popular Mechanics going back to 1900, that's something that you can do. And use the software called JDownloader, and it will, download every issue for you automatically. And sometimes it can take 20 hours or 36 hours, but it'll get them, and then you can be assured that you'll have access to it even if it's not available on the web anymore. And again, that's so easy to do that we don't offer a service for that. And of course, hopefully most of us know how to transfer camera images. If they're on your phone, you can just, transfer them via phone, for example. So this is for stuff that doesn't fit in a scanner, right? Stuff that's 3D objects, maybe our children's artwork from decades ago. Okay, so if we're storing all this data, then that data is like, that collection is extremely valuable, and it becomes extremely critical to do backups. So, we recommend this triple backup scheme where you have 2 backups at home that you ping pong between. And the reason for that ping pong is if you accidentally delete a file on your NAS, and then that deletion gets transferred to one of the backups, you can go back to the previous backup and still get that deleted file. And then the third backup should be off-site, like in a storage unit or in, workplace, or another house or whatever. And then once every couple of months, you would swap the offsite with one of your at-home backups. There's this optional route you can take. In addition to your regular backups, you could have an archival backup. So these are special Blu-ray discs called M-disc, and the manufacturer claims that they are made of stone and last 1,000 years. Now, of course, they haven't tested them for 1,000 years, but that's the claim. They don't store, they store a lot of data for an optical disc, but not compared to a USB drive, for example. It's 100 gigabytes per disc, and they're pretty pricey. They're about, you can see it's more than $10 a disc, and the drive is also kind of pricey. But I have my most important stuff saved on these. So we have these overriding philosophies. So I've mentioned this: bits instead of atoms, right? We want computer data files instead of a bunch of clutter in our house. This other major philosophy is storing your data locally instead of in the cloud. And that's for two reasons. It's for privacy, and also so that you can do AI locally without sending your data off. So you might think, can we store data in the cloud? Well, it's not private, it's not reliable. There are stories of data loss from these cloud providers, but this NAS that Paperless Legacy offers this is the top of the line consumer GPU, graphics processing unit, that can perform AI quickly, as opposed to taking minutes. And Paperless Legacy commits to never phoning home, right? So that we don't send your data anywhere, including to us. Another use you can use for if you have a NAS is you can watch movies or play video games. So this is actually an entire Windows computer. You can't really tell the size, but it's the size of a fat paperback, from the 80s or 90s, if you remember what those were like. It's an entire Windows computer, and so you can just play back movies or play video games on your living room TV. And this is the keyboard and mouse for the mini computer. This is about the size of a remote control. There are regular size keyboards too that you can get that are wireless if those buttons are too small for you. And this is the software that you can use to play back movies and video games. So these video games, multiple arcade machine emulator, it runs the actual original software, from the arcade cabinets from 40 years ago. So it's not an interpretation of the video game, it's the actual video game. So on that NAS, when you can access the NAS from your laptop, and the website software we call Paperless Legacy operating system, and it has various icons and capabilities that you can do. And at the moment, only the first one is implemented. That's the primary application, Docs Chat, where you can chat with all your PDF files that you've scanned and ask it questions. And this is especially useful if you or somebody else is trying to remember what happened when, for example, and you have receipts going that far back, you can get them. This second application, book inventory. So, I preach all this digital stuff, but my personal failing is I prefer physical books. And so I have a lot of them on my bookshelf. And so this will, you take a photo of your bookshelf with your phone, and it'll convert it into a spreadsheet of Amazon links and prices, which of course is useful for insurance purposes if you have a loss. Um, and then this other application, when it gets developed, will automatically go out and download all your financial and utility statements and whatever, so that you can automatically build up your PDF repository with which you can chat using AI. And then this is just settings. Uh, so this is, sorry for the bad cabling here, but this is my actual server closet. And the thing I wanted to point out here is I had an electrician come in and install an outlet in my closet. It just runs through the attic. And this is how I can power, my Wi-Fi and my NAS. I think most people, where they put their Wi-Fi is, on a desk or a shelf or something. Um, but it's nice to have it centralized in the closet. I mean, it's just ever so more slightly secure, and slightly less likely to walk away. And yeah, uh, also the NAS is tethered physically to your Wi-Fi via an Ethernet cable, so it's less likely that somebody's going to go in and disconnect that and move the NAS somewhere else. Yeah, so that's the outlet. So strategies for organization. So this would probably be your primary organizational strategy is hierarchical. In the old days of filing cabinets, we had manila file folders, and those fit into hanging file folders. You really only had those two levels, and I guess you could consider a cabinet drawer another level, but uh, you know, on file systems, when you're storing computer data files, you can go as deep as you want. You can store as much as you want, practically speaking. Um, but that's a lot of data. It's all your data. In terms of, passing on this data or even just using it yourself, you may want to, this is a technical term, curate the data, right? It's basically making scrapbooks. So you don't want to save, or you don't want to present all your photos when somebody comes to visit. You want to have this scrapbook or playlists, right? So you don't want to play all your CDs in complete sequential order. You want to have playlists of your favorite songs. So those are the two primary organizational schemes. There's a third one that you can consider optional, triage, and I'm assuming everybody knows what that word means from watching MASH. But basically, if Paperless Legacy does your scanning and you've asked us to do it, quickly instead of organizing it for you, then we'll, just name the documents based on where those documents were found, with the idea that you would later manually file them into your main hierarchical scheme. And so it's kind of a flow, right? You have your triage documents, your main hierarchical, and finally you can curate those into nice scrapbooks. Okay, so this is a video, I think it lasts a minute or two, on the backup capability.
No sound.
If we're supposed to have audio, we're not getting it.
Okay. All right. I forgot there's an option I need to set here. Uh, Audio.
You may have to restart your sharing.
Audio settings. Oh, I can't find it, so I'll narrate. So this is the touch screen that you see on the lower left corner. And this is called the PLBU2. It stores 80 terabytes just like the PLNAS one does. So it's going to do a complete backup. And I'm just going to plug in the power to this power strip that I have in the server closet. And then the USB plugs into the front. So because this is a brand new backup unit that I'm demonstrating, it's asking to format it. And so I'm clicking yes, format, confirm to erase all the data. And now it's formatting. And now it announces verbally that the formatting is complete. And now it's announcing verbally that it is detected a formatted backup drive present. And so now I can press the backup now button. And then those bottom two lines down there shows the file that it's currently backing up. So you can kind of monitor progress. All right. One more quick video, which is the AI. So in the lower left corner of that touch screen, it shows the IP address of the NAS, because you're going to type that into the browser bar on your laptop. So I'm typing in that IP address that was on the front of the unit. And that's how we get to that desktop that I already talked about. Now, we've let me fast forward this. Okay, so now I've clicked into Doc's chat. I'm asking what books have I bought? And so this is the AI running locally on the NAS, the PLNAS1, and it answers just like it was ChatGPT. For those who are technically minded, I'm using Llama 3.1 locally running on that 4090 GPU card. What clothing have I bought? It answers that as well. It's getting that information from my collection of receipts, including Amazon receipts. So again, this is the GPU card that really drives up the price of the PLNAS1. The main differences between this and the $130 NAS on Amazon is it stores more. It stores 80 terabytes. It has AI built in, and it has the touchscreen for one-touch backup. Because if you don't have that, then you're probably going to need to back up using your laptop. Like if you use the Amazon NAS and you want to back that up, you'll have to use your laptop to back it up, and that ties up your laptop while the backup is being performed. And that could take an hour or two. And how often are you going to want to do that? Right? If you can just plop a backup unit on the device and press a button and go, then it's much more likely that you'll do backups regularly. So having all your data locally is the ultimate in privacy. If you don't care about privacy, then cloud is probably the way to go. In fact, I believe there are AI websites out there that will access your cloud for you and provide the capability that I just showed. Again, the difference is that with our stuff, you're running locally. It's powerful and it's convenient. So again, I'm local here in Sarasota, and the benefit of that is you don't have to worry about shipping off your irreplaceable videotapes or documents to some other state, some other city. We can just pick it up. And the PLNS one will help you install that. We're not electricians. You'll have to hire your own electrician if you want electricity in a closet. And you know, like in my introduction, when Anne introduced me, you know, I've been doing digital organization for myself since 2006. So almost 20 years of experience digitally organizing stuff. And you know, I'm an expert in AI. So again, what we advocate is this digital lifestyle where instead of atoms, you have bits. Instead of clutter, you have computer data files. Yeah, I guess as a quick little anecdote, I mean, you know, my father sure could have used this, you know, 20 years ago when my mother passed away. They had a bunch of rental properties and she did all the finances and taxes for that. And he just had to dig and dig through the filing cabinets and stacks of papers. It wasn't entirely organized. So it's best to be organized. And that's it. You can contact me at paperlesslegacy.com or call me. Yeah, I'm happy to chat with you for free. And I can even come to your house. First 45 minutes at your house is free, just to survey the situation or provide some help. So that's it. Thank you for having me.
Will you take some questions?
I will, absolutely.
Okay, Murray Strom has his hand up. He's in British Columbia, just to let you know. He's not local. Go ahead, Murray.
Yeah, I hope that I'm not muted.
No, we can hear you just fine.
Anyway, that is a terrific presentation. I just wanted to mention that I have just built a 38 terabyte NAS for myself. And
nice.
But what I did, I built it from a bunch of stuff that I had around. Like I have a whole bunch of external hard drives, and the CPU for it is a Raspberry Pi.
Mm.
And I am going to be making I'm halfway through making a presentation on how I did that, and I've offered to make that. I'm primarily going to do it for our local Linux users group, but I'm going to make it available to the Tech for Seniors group and APCUG as well, if there's interest in it. But anyway,
nice.
I've just finished that. It's one that is designed so that the if any two drives fail, I don't lose any data. So it's got some redundancy in it, and of course storage locally, and you can do all the things that you've said. You can, for example, use something like Macrium Reflect to back up continuously or regularly back up your PCs, or Time Machine for Mac, or Back in Time for Linux, and so on. So anyway, I'll be doing that, but I thought that this was a very timely presentation because you really explained why you wanted NAS.
Yeah.
I'm going to make that part a lot shorter, but it was very interesting to have that. And
thank you for reminding me about the redundancy. I forgot to mention that. So you see 5 hard drives here. Each one is 20 terabytes. So you would think it would be 100 terabytes, but there's redundancy. I'm just doing RAID 5, which means one drive can fail. If one drive fails, you still have your 80 terabytes of data that's not lost. So, 100 terabytes raw, but we only use 80 terabytes of it so that we can have this redundancy in case one drive fails.
I assume that you're using ZFS, are you, for the file system?
I assume so. On the backup drives, I use exFAT, and the reason for that is because it works on Windows, Mac, and Linux with no driver installation. So if somebody comes in after you and finds this backup drive and they plug it in, it'll work on whatever computer they have.
Oh yeah, I also have another NAS that I built before, which does use ZFS, but of course I can back up to it too with from any of those computers without any problem. But
it's probably ext4. I'm using Ubuntu.
Okay, well I'm using Raspbian OS for the one, But on the other one, I'm using, it's again like yours, 5 drives, but it's any 2 drives can fail.
RAID 6 is what they call that, right?
Well, it's ZFS. RAID 6 would be in BTRFS or some of those others, but it's using based on FreeBSD, and they use ZFS, and it's ZFS RAID 2 or something. It's got a different numbering system. It's more efficient in storage, but the problem is that you've got to have all the disks have to be the same size. In my Raspberry Pi based system, the sizes range from 3 to 16 terabytes, and you can mix and match, and they're really easy to change if you need to change them.
Okay.
A lot of storage and a lot of backup, but if you've got a lot of things to back up, that's the way to do it. Any other questions?
So, Michael,
Yes.
can I
Hi.
toss in here? So no, I'm sorry if I missed this. Do you also use cloud storage?
I only use cloud personally as a way to do email attachments that are bigger than 10 megabytes. That's the only reason I use cloud.
Well, I found a company called Cloud in Switzerland, and I bought 12 terabytes for life for $1,000, and it keeps local copies on my laptop and my desktop and in their cloud, and it synchronizes them all the time,
Yeah,
which is just removed a huge worry.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's definitely easier and cheaper to do cloud than to do it yourself with a NAS at home. It's just, it would be appealing only to those who really value their privacy and don't want to send their files to another company.
Understood. Which I don't use any password cloud service because of that reason. They scare me. But
yeah. Passwords I use an Excel spreadsheet stored on a TrueCrypt encrypted drive.
Me too. I'm with you there. Thank you so much. This was great.
Yeah.
A lot of the people here just need to store what they have. They don't need the big NAS and the big 80 or 100 terabytes, but certainly saving it on a hard drive and a portable drive and so on for backup of their pictures and their other data. Just to pick up two terabyte drives, USB drives that you can plug in and then keep swapping them out, putting one off site and then keeping one and then swapping them out is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, at a minimum, I recommend getting your own 2 terabyte NAS here, just again, so that it's tethered, it doesn't walk away, it's centralized, multiple computers can access it at the same time.
So, Michael, without other questions, can you tell us about your patents?
Sure. So, I work for a big Silicon Valley tech firm. And I started with them when I was living in Colorado.
That's where I am. Sorry.
So it was physically located close to CU Boulder. So CU Boulder is the Mork and Mindy school, and they call it a public Ivy, right? And one of the many degrees they offer is a PhD in computational linguistics. So when this company that I work for acquired a small Colorado company that was populated almost entirely with PhDs in computational linguistics. So when I started working, I just basically learned all this natural language processing by osmosis, by just what everybody else was doing. And so all my patents are in natural language processing. The 20 ones that are granted now are old style natural language processing. I have 4 or 5 in the works for large language model style natural language processing. And then of those, this is going to be extremely technical, so you can just tune out if you don't want to hear it. But of those 20, half of those are related to actually a single invention. My employer decided to cover it with an umbrella of patents, and that is, it will generate regex source code when you give it examples, and it does it in a third of a second.
Dick Vogel,
sounds
you have
great.
your hand.
Yes, did you say that you would make the slides available? Can you
Yes.
tell us how we get them?
No, I'll send them to Bill or Ann. They're pretty big. They're 22 megabytes, so I'll have to put it on my G drive, and then I'm assuming Ann or Bill will be able to share it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll post a copy of it up on the website for everybody.
Yeah.
Mike, if you send it to me, I'll get it.
Who's this?
That was Bill.
Oh,
The video should be ready in a couple of days. And
Last year, Huey, Michael, this was great. I mean, it was very technical, and I am not there yet, but a lot of these people are, and I know they truly appreciated it probably more than I could.
and I know I went pretty fast, but I knew there was a recording, so.
Yeah, it's being recorded, and that's good because we can go over it slowly, and that'll be helpful to me. Yeah, but thank you for sending that to Bill because we'll get it out to the rest of us. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Michael, for being here and entertaining us tonight. And if there are no other questions, we'll just close the meeting out now. Huey, you have anything else to say?
Hmm.
All right. You're muted, Huey.
I guess I was. Michael, thank you very much. It was a great presentation, above some people's heads, and others, it gives them some background and knowledge in some of those things. I think we have one hand up before we go. Gene, you have a final question or comment? You're muted.
Gene, you're muted.
It was a good meeting and a very, very good information. It would be helpful, though, if we had it in a little more bites, like the content is to me, the most critical. So I look at it more, you guys are more into the technical from the standpoint, how big the box has got to be and how often we're swiping it out. I'm more worried about, first of all, getting a reasonable collection of the good things I have to have and making that more secure than growing from that. That's one of the things I would suggest. It gives me a better takeaway. So, but I love the presentation. I thought the content was good. So
I forgot to mention, it's no small effort to live the digital lifestyle. It either takes a lot of time, your own time, or a lot of money.
Michael, you're absolutely right, but it has to, for me, I have to take the information in chunks so I can put a chunk down to build another chunk on top. And honestly, I thought that what was so critical was, again, identifying the kinds of things categories of the kinds of things we might want to start to go after. So that at least initially we've got something we can take away and something that I might want to put on a hard drive so that I have it available that I can take away with me sometime, stuff like that. And make sure that I keep it turned over. Maybe I have 2 or 3 of them. Usually I have 2 and I turn them over. So I always have a backup one. Anyway, I just thought you did a good job and I really appreciated it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, Michael,
Happy to
thank
do it.
you very much. And with that, we'll say thank you all for attending, and we'll see you at one of our meetings coming up. And thank you for being a part of Stug.